Well, we've got a few minutes before the meeting starts, but the recording has started. It's a little different setup for us. No. If there's anyone else planning to sign up for public comment, now would be the time to fill out the green form and bring it up here to Mr. Brotherton. We are going to have a second opportunity for public comment right after the board discussion. Yeah. Thank you for being here.
No, I love that.
It is.
Ladies and gentlemen, I'd like to call the meeting to order. All white, please, pledge allegiance. I pledge allegiance
To the flag
of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Yeah.
Motor Johnson,
Aye, here.
Victory Johnson, here. Diana Mendoza, aye. Nicole Garrett, Tyler Wilson, here. Robert Vaughn, here. John Doe.
Here. Thank you. Next thing on the agenda is the action items and corrections. Okay. Recommend motion to approve the agenda, removing and correcting items as presented. A second.
Who is the second?
Diane.
Diana.
I made a motion.
Motor Johnson.
Aye.
Victory Johnson, aye. Diana Mendoza, aye. Tyler Wilson, Robert Vaughn, John Doe.
Tricia, if there are other public comment forms, can you bring those up? And just as a point of information, this agenda, the board has asked that there be 2 rounds of public comment. We'll have public comment now, and also there will be public comment after the board discussion. Public comments are limited to 5 minutes. I have a timer up there as a courtesy. I know the audience can't see the timer, but they can hear it. It should go on. Someone will need to do the translation. Okay.
First one is Krista Fullerson.
Good evening. My name is Carissa Culbertson, and I'm a teacher at Pleasant Acres. I've been employed in the district since 2004. So thank you for your thoughtful discussion concerning the possible options for next school year and did receive responses from many of you to the email that I sent since I couldn't be here in person that night. And some of you even took the time to talk to me as well as other staff members. And I genuinely appreciate that. I'm fully aware that a relationship like this between a board and staff members is something to be valued, but unfortunately it is often hard to find. This open and honest dialogue is one of the many reasons that I do love working out. I'm here tonight to listen and learn about the new options being offered. I do agree with many of you that although we do need to find a solution, disruptions for staff and families need to be avoided as much as possible, and that's my opinion. We have learned from previous years and experiences that in order for the changes that we implement to be beneficial, it needs to be carefully implemented and not rushed. My worry also is that some of these options do require a lot of change, but not enough time to ensure that the change is executed well. This includes the time and opportunities to obtain feedback from families, although I know we tried, and allow for questions or concerns to be addressed. For these reasons and others, my preference is for an option that involves the least amount of change. I also know that many staff members will agree with me that we just want to know. The stress of the unknown has caused a lot of what-if scenarios, including some starting a very reluctant search for employment in other districts and stalled future planning to happen. I'm also concerned that many of the proposed options will solve some problems, but also create new ones. After all of the work and progress that we have made towards student growth and staff retention, I would be heartbroken to feel like we are starting over in some sense. I do look forward to hearing your thoughts during your discussions tonight. Thank you again for advocating for what is best for our families and staff members.
Thank you, Mr. President.
This feels really wrong.
All right. I just kind of wanted to express a little disappointment and frustration that I'm feeling because I feel like the board and Dr. Woods and admin and the staff and especially like our association has a really good relationship, and I feel like Dr. Woods and his team spent a lot of time preparing for the last board meeting when they presented you the options, and they came to the schools at least 2 times to Pleasant Acres and to East Lawn to go over the plans and scenarios, let us ask questions, and just kind of really understand what they were thinking and the logic behind the scenarios that they gave. And unfortunately, at that time, you guys didn't care for those options and wanted the team to go back to the drawing board. And that's okay, but it feels like now it's just rushed. We, as a staff, didn't get to look at these options until Tuesday. So we've had less than 48 hours to review them and go over them. And we haven't had any board members since that day or upper admin even come talk to us about them, which feels a little rushed. And I know you're not making a decision tonight, but as Carissa stated, I mean, if you want to keep the good staff that we have and the good relationships that we have, it feels like this should have been done a little differently. You need to talk to the people who are in the trenches, which are the teachers and the staff. We are there every day. We kind of know what works and what doesn't work, and kind of, it would be nice if you guys would have asked our opinions before we go through 7 options, which seems like an extremely lot of options to go through. I'm tired of hearing that grade level centers didn't work before, because that's not true. That was at a different time and a different era when we didn't have a big bilingual population at that time. The same concerns were not the concerns that are the concerns now. The only reason we moved away from it was because it's one of those things, the test scores weren't moving up, so we had to try something different. But if we look at that, each time the test scores are still kind of staying where they're at. So change is needed, and we do need to have room for some growth for the bilingual program because it's not shrinking, it's just gonna get bigger. So whatever you guys decide to do, it needs to be something that is a long-term solution and not something that we're here again in 2 years and disrupting everything again. So I just hope that you look over these options and that you make the best choice, like Carissa said, with the least, disruption for the students and the families and the staff, because, I think that's just owed to everybody. So I just hope you are really thoughtful in what you guys decide to do.
Nikki, I see you getting the microphone ready. Are we wanting the speakers to use the mic?
It's hard to hear.
Okay. Oye. Y también tenemos mucha gente aquí que se habla en español, ¿sí? ¿Y hay alguien va a traducir, Mariolis? Ok. Pero ¿toda la reunión o solamente qué parte?
Como
Toda.
usted guste. As you like.
No.
I'm open,
¿Qué
I can help
necesita?
anyway.
I don't know. That's Mariolis. She's going to translate. So Juanis is next.
Juanisa is next.
She makes me
Thank you so much for coming.
So I'm coming here as a bilingual staff representation. And, I have 3 points that I want to point out about all of these decisions that you're making. The bilingual program is important for growing Latino community. Every day we see more kids coming into our schools. As a teacher right now, I have a full classrooms of bilingual kids. I think it's the biggest classroom in the district right now, in elementary schools. So it's something to have in attention, because I don't have another 3rd grade bilingual teacher in my building because there's no space for more. Having an open bilingual program now maybe they're open to have a dual Spanish immersion in the future. Like giving more attention to this will be helpful for the community later. And the other one, the workload that as a bilingual teachers we have to deal every day, because everything we have to do, it has to be double. So as a teachers and having so many students in a classroom and have to do everything double is double the work that maybe other teachers have to deal with. That's it.
Mariolis.
Hello, I'm Marialis and hello, I am Marialis and I come from another country. So being here and having the opportunity to meet the program at IBIS right now, I believe that there's a growth. When I came here in 2021, I saw how many kids are coming every time in the middle of the year. And also, I can present how interested not only bilingual kids want to learn Spanish, also monolingual kids are interested in learning Spanish as well. I believe also that the bilingual program is an opportunity to grow as a whole team, because we need to start and have like a real base that makes a program solidified and can make it grow into a whole community that right now is growing instead of going back. It is a hard decision in my opinion, and I have multiple ideas from here, but multiple changes will create a chaos for everyone, because it stresses you, me, teachers, and everyone in the community. But in my belief, we need to think in the best of the students right now, how they are, how the community is growing, how the students, their needs, and try our best to organize the schools in a way that in the long term, we don't have another reorganization or in a hurry kind of to settle what RCS is right now as it is.
And we have Ruben next.
Buenas. Buenas, buenas. Solo tengo los puntos que quería traer a la reunión.
He has only two topics to bring to the board
He podido ver a través de la situación de la comunidad,
that he has been able to see according to the progress and growing of the community,
cualquier decisión que pueda tomar para la reestructuración de la escuela.
that any decision that could be made to restructure or reorganize the schools,
Recordemos que tenemos una comunidad de familias latinas con muchos niños.
we need to take into consideration that we have a really big community of Latin bilingual kids.
Y el movernos muchas escuelas aún puede ser un poco problema.
And reorganizing them in multiple schools around the town, it would be a really hard thing to do.
Un punto positivo que pueden analizar en
A positive thing that you could take into account in the reorganization of the school could be
los recursos que tenemos.
the resources that we already have, that we have right now as a school district.
O sea, y
Mentioning the IP resources and the English as a second language resources as well.
he notado un poco de que moverse mucho es difícil.
I have noticed the difficulties that many teachers, when they have to run from one building and another, and as well as these resources are split between different schools.
Ahora sí.
And that's when he wants.
Thank you. Good luck.
Rafael.
Good evening.
Good evening. Thank you.
Many of the, they have many people have mentioned the same concerns as I do. My main one will be definitely trying to find something, see the chart of growth of the product, the development program needs, and not figure out that as long as we're gonna have like a plateau because it doesn't seem like it's happening. Something we just keep thinking about, like, just look at this chart and logically see like it's going that way, prepare for that and make a plan for that. The other thing that I wanted to, I'm interested in something that it seems, I feel that the program should be something like what, when we talk about like, we talk about Black histories, American history. The developer program is RCS program too. I hope you're trying to see what I'm trying to understand what I'm trying to say. It's like, it's not like, oh, we have a section of the community, that's our community. And some of them, a good portion of them speak Spanish or another language. And we have to embrace that as far as it. And everybody will be challenged by that, but we need, I know you have all the options to consider, but something that we can see that is something to grow from now. And something that is part of every building that is, if anybody like right now walks to any building can work as part of the community. Even if they don't have schools they have a volleyball classroom, it's part of the volleyball program too, because it's part of RCS.
Thank you.
I'll get the microphone, because apparently. Yes. It's on.
Try not to be too loud here. Folks, we're gonna move on now to discussion and and we'll be, as a creative board, to hopefully expedite things a little bit. We're going to go around and maybe our secretaries put down the numbers of those that we feel are not ones that we'd rather discuss right now. Okay, so we're going to discuss the ones that we see as our priorities, or the ones that we want to focus on. So we're going to take our time right now and go around and ask each individual which ones they would like us to postpone discussion about right now. So, can I start with you? Well, we can do that. We can do that too. Ask them when we want to discuss. Would that be better?
Yeah.
Okay, let's get that way.
2 and 3.
2 and 3. Okay. So let's discuss 2 and 3. Robin?
I like 4 and 6.
4 and 6. Okay.
I like 5 and 6.
5 and 6. Diane?
1 and 3.
1 and 3.
You haven't eliminated.
Huh?
That's all.
That's not 7. No 7.
Mickey.
Pardon me.
Mickey Payne, upset.
Yes, we'd like 7. Thank you very much. We've eliminated none. Okay. I made an effort. So should we start number 1 first? Any comments for? Any questions for superintendent? So number 2 then?
And these were the 2 we talked about for the last, the first 2. Yeah, that was good.
Discussion on 2. Number 3. There's a pre-K.
I like number 3 because it doesn't pin the east versus the west versus the north versus the south. And I understand it disrupts a lot of people, but it,
Sure.
but it also disrupts the whole town. It's not, like I said, it's not pinning east versus west, north versus south, this school versus that school. It's all of the schools. And I understand some teachers don't like that. I've gotten emails and I've listened to the comments. That's just my thoughts.
I don't mind getting that. Anything else for 3?
We can't hear you back there.
Yeah. We're going to talk about number 3. Thank you.
Argument what Paula said. I believe that if we're gonna do a change, we should not just 1 school, 2 schools, 1 school. We should do it unified. I understand that, whatever decision we make, it's gonna affect people, but I believe that, in the passing years, we've moved students from Eastland to PA, and I feel like those families have been going through a lot of change through the years. Ever since I can remember, I used to work at the school district. So I believe that, if we're gonna do a change, do it unified. Not just 1 or 2 schools.
Anything else for 3? Let's go to number 4, which is grade level schools.
I like number 4. And this is speaking from a parent whose child started in their grade level centers the last time, and I was totally against it. I was not willing to change at all. But I kind of see the logic in it now, because I think with the K-5 schools we have now, we kind of isolate ourselves or segregate ourselves. This is my district, this is my neighborhood, this is my school. If we're putting our kids in the grade levels with their peers that they're going to eventually graduate with, then they have that opportunity to build lifelong relationships with these children that might not come from the same neighborhood as them, or might not have the same walk of life as them. And it gives them the opportunity to learn from each other. I also like the idea. I like the idea that if we're moving children into grade level centers, we're going to have more room in our schools as a whole. Every school is going to be more flexible. Staff member wise, it's going to offer a lot of opportunity for you to work and collaborate together with your peers in that group. I look forward to having another discussion on that.
Anybody else for number 4? So now we'll move to number 5, which is Northview at Free Strand School. Seeing no comment, we'll move to number 6, which is return to 2022-23 organizational structure at Pleasant Acres and East Lawn. Yes. Don't see that.
I just want to reiterate another thing on number 4. I think if we're going to make change, we need to make change in a long-term decision. If we're going to do something, thinking in the future for future growth, do a drastic change now and stop making changes in the future. And let those changes settle and see how they grow and see how we grow with them. That being said, I also picked number 6 because I feel I want the community to have more input in what we're doing. And I think number 6 gives us an opportunity to have a little bit of time to plan any major changes that we make. Because we're going back to this year's, the way we're doing things now gives us another year to figure out what the best decision would be long term.
I agree with Robin on that, with what teachers have said tonight, some of the feedback that we have gotten. Give it more time too.
Hi, my name is Mo Johnson. I've actually been, I'm kind of like Ms. Palmer there. You know, we're given all these options, 7 options, especially if the teachers haven't really had the opportunity to look at all 7 of them. I know that there's a lot of you that already made up your mind on what you guys want. And of course, we can't make our mind up unless we get the feedback from you. Now, I know that myself, I have not gotten feedback other than what's come on the school iPad that I have. But by talking with a few people out in the community, they don't agree with some of the things that some of the teachers agree with, like grade school centers. I mean, they said they tried it a number of times. Of course, Ms. Palmer made the, said that this is now and that was then. That's true. That's very true. But my decision as a board member is what's best for the kids. And another thing I did not want to do, and now I'm pretty sure this is why we're having this meeting, is because I definitely didn't want to make a decision too early, too quick. But just like, Robin said, we have to do something, but we have to try to make it long-term. This 1 or 2 year thing, it to me is hurting us. And what's killing us, and what's very hard for us to make a decision or try to make a decision quickly is, in my opinion, I don't want to lose good people. I don't want to lose good teachers. We want to keep the best teachers as we,
Second ago, hold on.
we want to keep as many teachers here as possible. And I know for a fact that many of you are doing the very best that you possibly can. We definitely don't want to disrupt what we got going forward, especially when it's a good program. I know that one of the concerns are when we talk, certain teachers do things a certain way compared to some of the other teachers. That's something that we're gonna have to figure out what's going on with that. But like I said, I don't know. You guys are gonna have to give us a little bit more information, at least in my opinion, on what you want. But I do know one thing, on a couple of these, the busing, that's gonna be a tragedy. Transferring kids all over the place. We're gonna start losing kids. Kids are gonna be all over the place. That's my opinion. But the thing about it is, it's you guys as parents and the community people are the one that's gonna be sitting there trying to figure out where your kids are when they're lost or when they're not around. Teachers, again, shortage of teachers, shortage of bilingual teachers. I mean, but we gotta make a change. And just like, the last meeting that I was in, it's almost like playing poker. We're gonna take a chance no matter what decision we make on losing good teachers. Now, I know, unless I misread what I read, there's a huge number of teachers that don't want no change. They want to keep things the same. And some of those teachers that I'm talking about are teachers that's been here a long time. So we as a board need to make sure when we make the decision, we don't lose a bunch of good people. And it doesn't really matter about the time that they've been here. It's about the quality of what you're giving the school to RCS. We want the best people here, and we want what's best for you, as well as the kids and the parents.
Anybody else? Number 7? Or number 6, I'm sorry. Number 7. And the superintendent has something to read.
All right, hello. Board member Pettit is not able to be here this evening and emailed the rest of the board a statement that she would like entered into the record, so to speak. So Hannah, don't worry, I put it in the packet for you to include later. All right, this is from board member Pettit. I would like to apologize for not being able to attend this important meeting this evening. I am writing this letter to share my thoughts regarding the reorganization topic. I shared my thoughts, opinions, and perspective with some of the board, but I wanted to put something in writing so that it could be shared at the meeting since I am unable to attend. I spent time talking to staff at both East Lawn and Pleasant Acres to get a better understanding of how each school felt about this subject. The major takeaway I heard was that at the end of the day, everyone wants a solution that helps the students and for the solution to be as least disruptive as possible. During my talk at Pleasant Acres, I spoke mainly with the bilingual staff, as those were the teachers that chose to come to the staff lounge while I was in the building. My understanding is that most of the bilingual staff at Pleasant Acres would prefer to have the bilingual program all together at one school. Other teachers had pros and cons to this choice. However, the main reason for choosing this option was the possibility for the bilingual staff to be able to collaborate with one another. My understanding is that the bilingual staff does not feel as though they have a solid, strong, organized curriculum Teachers stated that being in one building would help build this program because it would offer the ability to collaborate and work together. This would be different than what is in the schools now because the bilingual teachers would have more than one strand in the school, and they would be able to collaborate with teachers that are teaching the same students and using the same curriculum. As it stands now, when they have a chance to collaborate, they are collaborating with monolingual teachers who do not use the same curriculum for their students, and therefore their students are not the same. Their situations are not the same. When I spoke with staff at East Lawn, I spoke mainly with the monolingual teachers. The opinion at East Lawn was that grade level centers would be the best option for the reorganization. However, when speaking to the bilingual teachers at East Lawn, most agreed with the bilingual teachers at Pleasant Acres. The consensus was that having the bilingual program at one school would be the best option. When trying to decide what I thought was the best option for everyone involved, I tried to consider how everyone would feel, meaning how will this affect the students, the parents, the staff, and the community as well. My choice would be option 7, which is to have K-5 at all the schools while having the bilingual program be the grade level center with K2 at Pleasant Acres and 3-5 at East Lawn. I feel this is the best option because it allows the bilingual program to serve as one unit and collaborate with one another. Although the program would not be at one school, it provides a solution for the growth of the bilingual program. It also provides a way to introduce the dual language program that I would like to see introduced to the RCS curriculum/community. I know Ms. Schwenker sent an email explaining how this option makes it seem as though the bilingual program is just an afterthought. However, I strongly disagree. I heard the concerns that all the teachers stated. Given how our community is structured, I believe this is the best option because it causes the least disruption to the schools and it provides the most opportunity for the growth of the bilingual program. I do understand that this is my opinion and not factual. However, I did not come at this decision lightly, nor was this an afterthought for me. I care about our bilingual staff and students. I care about them having a voice and being heard. I understand that changes and processes need to be made. I heard the struggle that these teachers are having. Although I understand that if the board does decide to vote on a specific solution to the quote problem unquote we face of the growing bilingual program, that won't make everyone happy. Which I would like to say that a growing bilingual program is a great problem to have. It is my goal as a board member to make sure that whatever choice we make, it is the best choice for all parties involved. Thank you, Nikki Pettit.
Just a few things. I was able to go this morning to Northview and to Broadmeadow. And heard the discussions. I really appreciated the clarity that I got, the candor that was offered to me in a very professional way. It is very, very encouraging when I talk to these people, how much time and effort they put into this. They care. All of you care. I'm just not talking about the Northview and Broadmeadow staff. I've been to East Lawn, I've been to Pleasant Acres before. I know how they feel too about wanting to do the best for our kids. And that's what we're trying to do tonight. We're trying to come up with solutions. Speaking of that, I prefer either 3 or number 7 for myself. There, 3 is one that I think would work. It would be more disruptive. Number 7 is, I think, of the ones we've talked about most, 7 would be the one that would be the least disruptive, and also taking into account bilingual. Will not be perfect, it will not please everybody. I'm not perfectly pleased, but of the ones, the options we presented, I think that is where I lean. So I'd like to stop here and see if any of the board members have anything else they'd like to say and directions we'd like to give the superintendent for our next board meeting, which is our regular board meeting next Thursday. I'll certainly hand you. Yes, Kate.
Hi. I think I would agree with a lot of things that, Board Member Pettit and, Board Member Brotherton just said. I think that we have to be aware of, obviously, the disruption that's happening, but it's unrealistic of us to not consider that bilingual is growing, will continue to grow. This is a population that we need to be considering as we're moving forward. We've talked a lot about the possibility of dual language programming. I've heard about it for years at this point. And this is something that gives us kind of some framework to begin thinking about that, I think, in a more realistic way, as opposed to just an ideal. So I like option 7, I like option 3. I think that we have a lot of options that have been put before us that are really, you know, I think we're all taking it very seriously and trying to really make the best decision with, you know, the least impact that we can make. That's not gonna make everybody happy, of course, but by what I've heard from people, I think, you know, our intention is to not change things over and over and over again, so. Really what I got.
Anybody else? Board. Any comments? Yes.
I do have a suggestion that I was thinking, how can we start to narrow it down? One idea, if you want to, is we would now take the opposite of what we did before. So we'll say option 1, and we'll see, just as a straw poll, how many of you would be okay with that? If we had to do that, okay? To the board, yeah, just to the board. And so then we'll kind of get a count, like if there's only one board member who wants option 1, then that will be an indication that it's probably not one that would go through. Okay, that's my suggestion. But you, I mean, is that what you were gonna say?
Let's get the microphone.
I know, we didn't even plan for that. Okay. All right, everybody.
Back to you.
No, no, you.
All right, go.
You get to do it. Sorry, that was, I didn't know you were thinking that, so.
But he did much more articulately than anybody else. Okay, how about number 1?
We want to raise hands or
Nod, raise hands. Let's just raise hands so the audience can see too. Anybody for number 1?
And so you get to vote as many times as you want.
I was on number 3. Okay, number 2. Number 2, and let's go back through these again. Number 1 was, people know. Number 1 was Islam bilingual program. Pleasant Acres bilingual. Okay, everybody 1-1. Number 2 is going to be Pleasant Acres or Eastlawn K2, Pleasant Acres or Eastlawn 3-5. They're going to basically have just those 2 schools. That kind of program, which is kind of a grade center for just those 2 schools. Okay, anybody for number 2? See no hand. Number 3. Pleasant Acres is a pre-K school, Eastlawn, Broadman, on Northview, State 1-5. Number 3. Okay, we got 3, 4. Okay, bunch for 3.
That was all 6. I'm writing it down.
Okay, number 4, grade level schools. So all schools would be affected. Anybody for 4? 2 for 4. 5, Northview, a free strand school. Anybody for 5? Vote now. 1. Okay, got 1 for 5. 6, return to as it was before this year. 2022, 2023. Got 1, 2, 3. And finally, number 7, Pleasant Acres K5 monolingual, K2 bilingual, Eastlawn K5 monolingual, and 3-5 bilingual. That's what, 4?
Thinking would be 4, right?
Well,
Oh, 4,
4, 5 on that. Okay. Okay, so right now, we have still in contention 3, 4, 5, 6, and 7. We've eliminated 1 and 2. Okay? So again, it's 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. No 1, 2. Let's take a moment and find out. To mix things up, I'll throw the other. So Diane, it's all on you. Please. I'm gonna ask you about 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Could you go for all those for next week? Or you want to eliminate something? 3, 4, and 5. Okay. So just 3 and 4. So say 3 and 4 and 6 and 7. Okay. Just eliminate 5. Okay. Moto?
I'll look it up.
Okay. Katie? Okay, eliminate 5. Okay, 5 again.
I'll just look at all options.
And I would go along with 5 too. Okay. So we're down to what now? We got 3, 4, 6, and 7. So basically, we're not gonna talk about 5. We're gonna talk about, 3, 4, 6, and 7. Okay. You're all focused. 3, 4, 6, and 7. Do you have any questions about 3, 4, 6, or 7? The superintendent can answer.
Well, Jenny is on the Zoom, so she's here for any questions for Jenny.
If we were to go with number 6 for 1 more year. If we were to go with number 6 for 1 more year, how much disruption would that cause in our bilingual program? Is there growth? Is it gonna be too crowded? Or can we handle 1 more year?
Okay, so the question was, can we handle 1 more year within the growth of the bilingual program? So I guess I want to point out some of the finer points of number 6, okay? One of the things that, and the board does not have to do this, but one of the things that I am recommending within that is that we would have to adjust the boundaries between Pleasant Acres and East Lawn so that we are, through that process, balancing the monolingual classrooms, okay? The other piece that I am recommending is that we would do that similarly for the bilingual program, so that this is gonna drive us nuts. Keeps going to sleep.
The other would be that the bilingual program would have 1 classroom at each grade level, which is different from how it is right now.
We are back on. So that is, those are suggestions that I am putting out there. If we did that, yes, we would have room in the buildings. We would, that would require exactly 18 classrooms in each building, which is the maximum. East Lawn is 19. Pleasant Acres, because within that at Pleasant Acres, we're also talking about some light construction with their cafeteria space. And that gets them up to 18 classrooms. East Lawn has 19 that can be used. So it gets us through a year, yes.
For this one, for number 6, how much shifting of teachers would that be?
So on how much shifting of teachers would that be on number 6? If we did everything that I said, I'm suggesting, you would need to transition a couple, 3 bilingual teachers from East Lawn would be transitioned over to Pleasant Acres. Other than that, the shifting would just be most likely among grade levels, right? So, Jamie, you're in the room. Do you have 3 second grade classes right now?
We have 2 monolingual and 2 bilingual.
You have 4 at 1 grade level, 3 at 1 grade level, don't you? Okay, so it'd be probably pretty minimal, if maybe no shifting in the monolingual staff. So it would just be shifting the bilingual staff slightly. By slightly, I should do the number, but I don't know it in my head. It is, how many total bilingual teachers do you have right now, Jamie?
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6.
I think, is it 7? Yeah, so it would be 1, because you would have K through 5. So you,
So we have some grade levels with 2 sections, and there's still a section.
okay, so some is the answer right now.
But then again, it would be just 1 bilingual teacher for grade level. No time for collaboration with other teachers. Anything else for number 6? Moving to 7. Good question. Number 7, Pleasant Acres, K5 bilingual, K2 bilingual, East Lawn, K5 bilingual, K5 bilingual.
I think since we just talked about 6, to clarify, 7 would essentially be doing the same thing as 6. But instead of Pleasant Acres having 1 class at each grade level for bilingual, there would be 2 classes at each grade level for bilingual, but K2 would be at Pleasant Acres, East Lawn would have 3, 5. So it's 6 bilingual. You need a total of 12 classrooms for bilingual right now, no matter how we slice it. Okay. There's nothing we can do in terms of what happens if we have 100 more bilingual kids next year. That's not, we can't adequately plan for that because it's so unknown. With the grade levels, so if, for instance, if the grade level teachers are paired, that does make it less likely that we're going to have 1 teacher, say at East Lawn with 10 kids in 1st grade and a teacher at Pleasant Acres with 25 in 1st grade. They will have the same number of students. So I just want to make sure that's really the only difference at this point between 6 and 7 is that grade level organization within the bilingual program. It's 18 classrooms either way. It is a total of 12 bilingual classrooms either way.
Any comments on number 7? Questions? Looks like Diane's got something. You sure? Come on.
Well, so that would mean,
Second. Yeah, speaking about.
so that would mean that all the teachers that are currently at East Lawn, K through 2nd, would be moving to Pleasant Acres.
Just by.
Just bilingual.
Vice versa.
Well,
We're all gonna catch it.
Anybody else?
Oh, is it? Oh, sorry.
If we did do that, is the transfer of the teachers the same? Or is it a huge difference? Or a large difference? So with the transfer of I'm gonna assume, you meant bilingual, I think. Yeah, is that, I think on 7, again, these are questions I can definitely get updates to you on. One, it would depend on what grade levels the bilingual teachers wanted to be in next year. But I think number 7 likely shifts more bilingual teachers than option 6. So for instance, East Lawn right now has 2 kindergartens, or one kindergarten. Pleasant Acres has 1 kindergarten. So in this scenario, on option 6, Kayla gets to stay at East Lawn, and I'm not going to do names right now. We wouldn't need to move either kindergarten teacher, right? But in option 7, Kayla, I'm saying that because she's sitting right there, she would move to Pleasant Acres unless she somehow decided to teach 3rd grade. She's not going to do that. So, or 5th grade.
Okay. Does this change anybody's mind? To look at this again, and can we narrow it down any more? Or you want to present these all to the agenda come up with for next week?
Can I just say with number 7, I don't like the idea that we're mostly asking the bilingual staff to make more sacrifices and changes.
Louder, please.
I'm sorry, I don't like the idea that we're making the bilingual staff make all the sacrifices in this option. Like they're the ones that are carrying the most weight in this, the most affected.
That's number 7.
Number 7, yeah.
I think, I see your point. I will say one other thing though is that collaboration piece. I think like being able to communicate with the other kindergarten, 1st grade, 2nd grade classrooms and have more than one strand of bilingual so they can really communicate, lesson plan, do all those things. I think that's important to consider as well. It may actually be in some ways more attractive to some people.
What number was that you talked about? Number 7. More attractive.
Number 7.
I feel like I'm in a pageant. Number 7?
What I have heard, I agree with what you said, because most teachers want to collaborate with a partner. Especially whatever grade level you're teaching, whatever language you're teaching, it's better because she might have an idea that you don't have an idea. And together you can plan for your week. Teachers have that support, you know, how is your kid growing in this? What did you do different? I did this. Okay, let's work together so we make sure that our kids are growing together, so.
I'll add, one thing I can certainly do for the board before next Thursday is between options 6 and 7 is that that's easy for me to reach out and get that information from the bilingual staff that are in the buildings. So a question, Patricia, I'm looking right at you because you're the one who gets to do it, is if the choice was 6 or 7, which one would be preferable for our bilingual teachers? I'm not asking you to vote right now, Patricia, but we will survey the staff, okay? She said 2 in the back, which is not wrong. So I think we're really, when we get down to it, the difference between 6 and 7 is really, it comes down to those teachers, which is what I'm hearing the board say on that one, okay? Now, I will also throw in that obviously it does affect families and students, and I think that's a piece that we have to make sure we communicate clearly to the families as to why we would make one change or the other, and that's my responsibility. Okay?
Get eye contact here. What do you think? Any else have comments? Which one should we have, the superintendent? do more research on. Looks like 6 and 7 on this, but I'm gonna reach out to people. And we also had 3 and 4. How about 3? 3 is make plus makers a K1, no building would be 1 or 1.5. Yeah. Pre-K and K would be at PA, and that 1 through 5 would be at the other 3 buildings. So there would be 3 elementary buildings. And that would be border change, boundary change. Number 4, I can look back. Grade level change, 4.
I want to clarify. If it pleases the board, I would like to clarify an issue or a question on number 4 that comes up a lot. Yes, we talked about this, and there were some of the board members were here over 3 years ago when we talked in great detail about option 4. And that was the only option being discussed at the time. So it is not, I do feel like a broken record on this. It is not the same as when we did grade level centers in the early 2000s or 2010, it was 2010, I think. The main difference there is when that first one went through on grade level centers is there were sister schools where one school, so PA was partnered with Broadmeadow, and one school had all the K through 2 kids, and the other school had all the 3-5 kids. That actually it was option 2 at one point, which we're no longer talking about, was just doing that model with East Lawn and PA. This option 4 is every single first grader in the district would be in one building, not split into 2 buildings. So there's a big difference in that. Between that, and I understand there's a lot of history with the previous way that grade level centers happened. This is not, we are not talking about the same thing in option 4.
Okay.
Can you elaborate on transportation for option 4?
Transportation for option 4.
Could I elaborate on transportation for option 4? This was the big question several years ago. So what did I put in here? All right. Yes, we would be looking at a significant increase in transportation for the district. I mean, we will continue to bus all students who live beyond 1.5 miles. Where I see the significant increase coming in is we will have quite a bit more students that are beyond 1.5 miles. So for instance, I gotta pick a neighborhood. So Falcon Way, those kids currently all walk to East Lawn. There's no transportation provided. Under this model, they may have to go to Broadmeadow, say for 1 or 2 years, and I believe that's over 1.5 miles. And then we would be busing those students. One thing I have talked to the board with about with individual board members is we would have to look at creative, when I say creative, we would have to look at ways to accommodate families with children in multiple schools and how can we make that process go more smoothly so that if I have a lot of kids, I'm not having to drive to 4 schools in the morning. Well, first of all, you wouldn't have to drive to 4 schools because if you're more than 1.5 miles away, that child will definitely be bused. But I think I would come back to the board too with what are other things we would want to do that might actually increase access to transportation for more of our families because of that multiple siblings issue.
Okay. Diane.
Since we're talking about option 3 and 4. For option 3, we're gonna shift many staff because that's gonna be a pre-K in K school. And we're trying to contain that. That's what we don't wanna do, right? Or that would be also a lot of shifting of teachers. That would be something of a thought.
I just think with number 4, I can speak for myself and say that I haven't walked into, Holy God Meadow or PA in my childhood ever growing up, because there was no need for me to ever be there. You know, I never knew those kids until I got into high school. So I didn't know anybody from that side of town until I got into high school, because I was in my isolated little neighborhood. I just like the idea of our children being able to collaborate and work together, learn from each other, and be a unified district.
All I was gonna say, well, that's gonna happen in middle school anyway, right, in, 6th, 7th, and 8th grade. You know, where they'll be unified and where everybody, you know.
I understand, because my kid is a senior now, and he went to grade level science. K through 2nd, Pleasant Acres, 3rd through 4th, Brown Meadow. His last year was at Easton, so he almost went to all the schools in the district. And then the only one he didn't go to was Northview. And I understand what you're saying. It was nice that he knew students from his school. I just also thinking of the shifting of stuff. That's my word.
Someone else? So how should we present this to the superintendent? Which ones do you want to give him? Have him come back with more information, more detail. So that's really the purpose. Trying to get drilled down. And then nitty gritty. The ones we think are the best options. 6 or 7? Okay. Superintendent is Ernest Payton. I just says that we could go through twice and give the numbers again. So we'll go with just the ones that we have, 3, 4, 6, and 7.
Are we giving people unlimited votes again?
We can. We gotta get it down a little bit. Okay.
Okay, so you said fundamentally, I understand the differences, but 6 and 7 are similar. My thought is that I personally would eliminate 6 because you get the benefits of growing and improving, hopefully, the bilingual program. While also, if we're concerned about making too rash of a decision, it's kind of, you know, something that we could explore. It gives us like, you know, a path forward there. And then, you know, like, I don't know, like, it doesn't sit well with me to, I guess, do nothing. I think that's a lot of uncertainty. I think it's good for us to have some sort of plan. But I think that the benefits of 7 could be good, and then, you know, again, like, if we're gonna make a big change, that does give us more time to think about it, but also hopefully realize some benefits, because it's fundamentally a similar option. Does that make sense?
I think so. Well, I think we could say 6 and 7 are kind of similar. And I think 3 and 4 could possibly be kind of similar, not as much as 6 and 7, but I do think 3 and 4. And I kind of look at 6 and 7 as less disruptive, and I look at 3 and 4 as more disruptive. I think that's which way we want to go. So, you think that we could present these 4 to the superintendent and the staff to let them go through and dig a little deeper? Or not? Again, I'm asking, I'm not trying to dictate.
When you survey the staff, can you survey all 4 options?
Question was, when I survey the staff, can I survey all 4 options? Yes, I can tell you what's going to happen already. But I'll do it, right? Which is that the teachers, I think it will skew heavily towards 6 and 7, because teachers at Broadmoor and Northview will vote for 6 and 7, because it doesn't disrupt them. So, I mean, that's probably, so there's other ways that I can ask the survey questions to try and force answers, right? So, like I'm doing, like I already suggested with the bilingual teachers, is you can only choose between 6 and 7, which one would it be? We can do the same thing with teachers, but I think it would have to be structured that way. Okay. That's what you were asking, right? Okay.
So do we want to follow that formula? 3, 4, 6, and 7, or do we want to do something else? Well, are you okay with 3, 4, 6, and 7? Or are you good at 6 and 7? 3 or?
No, I'm good with those 4. I'm just still kind of hurt that, we had 1 and 2, which basically the first 2 options we were given at the last meeting, and now it's just kicked to the curb. And I know that there was quite a few teachers and administrators probably that we shoot away. Sorry. What I said was, I'm fine with 3, 4, 6, and 7. Like I said, I'm just wanting what's best for the community, and the kids, and to try to get, our academics up. I mean, that's our biggest goal, my biggest goal at least. But what I said at the back end is, it seemed like 1 and 2 was a huge, positive at the last board meeting with, I think, with a lot of the teachers and staff. And of course, it was a lot of negative with some of them. And we automatically dismissed it today. And 5, I didn't really, I thought was just looking at just my viewpoint on 5, but I'm fine with just the 4.
I just want to say that this is a very, very hard decision. I wish we could make everybody happy. I've heard from people in the community, from staff members, and I take it to heart. RCS has a big part of me. I've worked here 15 years. I've made a lot of relationships with many of you. And I wish I had a ball in front of me saying what's gonna work, what's not gonna work. We don't. I don't. At the end of the day, we wanna make, from what I've heard and the emails that I've received is the less shifting, the less, we've gone through this year by year, we've been moved here to here. And I've also heard, staff, I want to collaborate more with my other peers. And I take that into consideration. But also we have to think also about our families, our students. So there's many parts of this that we have to make the right decision. And I hope that we do. Is it gonna work? We don't know. We go by year by year. But I hope you guys know that we're trying very hard. I'm trying very hard. And I know that each member here it is, because we talk and we've met with our superintendent and we go through options and we review them. But at the end of the day, it comes down to only one option. And I hope whatever option we come up with is something that people can be content with. That's all I can say.
Seeing none. So what we're gonna do is allow 3, 4, 6, and 7. And that's what we'll discuss next Thursday. And we'll see where we go from there. Okay.
I have a question, Mr. President. Are you asking me and my team to make a recommendation to the board?
Looks like we're seeing yes here, yes. So we would like a recommendation. That's what the board says, and that's the board's majority.
After the survey.
After the survey, yes.
After the survey. What are the?
Those 4. Okay. Everybody agrees with that? You disagree? So we'll move on to public comments. That's the next thing. Your opportunity to speak to, and you to sign again.
Preferably.
Yes.
Did anybody else want to sign up? Rachel's already signed up to speak, so I think if she's the only one, she can.
Anybody else wants to, this is your opportunity. We want to hear from you.
How about if anybody else wants to sign up, do it while we just.
Yes. If anybody would like to speak, if they'll sign up by Rachel, she's already signed in. Carissa, she's already signed in, so she can, right?
But if there's anybody else, sign up
Please.
while Rachel's
If you've not-
speaking and we'll
I
throw
don't
you
have
in.
one of these, and you want to speak, great, but just need to sign, and there's people that'll help you. Okay, Rachel, go.
All right.
No table this time.
No table.
Okay. Well, I'm a little disappointed because the team did a lot of work this time as opposed to last time on including all the benefits for special education. And nobody has brought that up tonight. And 20% of our students have IEPs and receive services. So while the bilingual population is growing and is a big population, we also need to think about our special education students. And if you look at options 6 and 7 and the benefits where they listed for special education, 6 and 7 don't benefit our special education students. And we do have a lot of bilingual kids with IEPs. And that number is growing each year. So I think you really need to focus on option 3 and 4 and look at what that does, not only for our bilingual population, but for our special education population. And I just hope everybody really reads over those sections before you guys have your next discussion on next Thursday.
Carissa?
Well, last time I had everything typed up, so this time I'm kind of more winging it, but, I think mostly I just have questions, and I know that you guys do too, but I'm worried about the timeline. I know that with the talk of the grade level centers from a few years ago, there was a much longer process, including community feedback time for parents and community members to voice their concerns, which were heard, and I think that was ultimately one of the big reasons why it was decided to not go forward with that. So now I think my question / concern is the intent to, within a week, gather all the information, get the questions answered,
present it next week and take action on our ultimate decision. And if that's true, that worries me, but I also know the time crunches. If you wait too much longer, we're getting close to March, and to make major decisions that would include changes would be next to impossible to implement, as well as just longer unknown for staff and community members, which we know is not good. The unknown is always a stressful time. So I do have those questions of what is this timeline? You do have your board meeting next week. You've asked for information on 4 more options. My concern is getting all that information, receiving it that night, and then that's my question, I guess. Are you intending to then take action next Thursday? Or would it be at least on the agenda for possible action to make that decision? I agree that we're on 2 ends of the spectrum here. 3 and 4 seem to be the major changes, bigger, I don't want to say the word disruptions, but bigger changes, right? More people moving around, including students, whereas 6 and 7 is much less. But like Rachel said, there's so many things that we haven't even tackled. We didn't even have the discussion about special education students. And we don't want to overlook anything. There's so many moving parts. Just even the fact that, what did you say, 18 classrooms, 12 bilingual, like either way you look at it, it's the same number, but there's meaning behind those numbers, and what does that result in, and the physicalities of changing, something as simple as losing a cafeteria. I know that that's minor compared to other buildings, so it shouldn't be maybe a big deciding factor, but those are all the little things that kind of have to be looked at. So yes, the pros and cons list, it can be helpful and it's a start, but you really have to dissect what those pros and cons are, because some of them are kind of lumped together. Disruptions as a con includes lots of different things, but you could look at it from the other perspective, because disruptions is a negative word to begin with, that disruptions really just means changes, and maybe those changes are good. So all that to say is there's a lot of moving parts, and there's a lot of information that I know you still want and you need to make that decision. And I don't know what that timeline looks like. Yes, you need to act quickly because we are running out of time, but to make that decision and get all the information and be under that stress to make that decision that night worries me.
You may have 10 minutes left. I didn't start a timer.
Now people are texting me, telling me what else to say.
So.
I'm gonna have to ask.
Sam, Lonnie, Sam.
Sam Longest.
I know her.
Hello. Okay, turtle public speaking. I've taught fourth grade the last couple of years, and I've been lucky enough to be at Islam for the majority of my time at RCS. And currently, I think if we choose number 6, we physically have no space for that. We have 17 classrooms in our building, and if we add an 18th classroom, one of the rooms is gonna have to be shared with like 5+ people to service students. So that could mean like a class or a room with like a speech teacher, reading intervention, and like 2 other speeches all in one classroom. And that does not work for students in general. And last year I taught 5th grade, and I was the only monolingual teacher. And I had at one point 26 kids, and my bilingual teammates had 9 and 11. And I had nobody to collab with, and that was absolutely terrible. And I know our bilingual teachers face that a whole lot, and I completely understand. And I think that is the biggest push as to why 6 is absolutely not the best choice. Because every teacher, bilingual and monolingual, needs at least 1 teammate, period. Because bilingual is always left out compared to monolingual teachers. I can't collab with my bilingual teammate because we have different curriculum, we have different pacing, and she teaches completely everything different than what we do in monolingual. And it's not fair to her, and it's not fair to us as teammates for us not actually to be teammates. And I think 6 completely defeats that purpose. Oh, and I already have families asking where their 5th graders are gonna go next year, and I tell them that we don't know. And it looks bad on me as a teacher to tell my families that I can't tell them where they're gonna go next year. And families don't have these options. I know like we post them like online, but board members and these conversations need to happen during family events or to have a family event and host people and have a bilingual translator. So our bilingual families aren't left out. And then they mentioned like the survey. We have a whole day PD day tomorrow. So I think making that a required survey tomorrow before we leave would make sure we have that feedback from all staff.
I can do it.
Thank you.
I can do it. Good idea. All right. Later. Later.
Yes, later.
Later. Yep.
Leda Bravo y Mariolis.
Yo pensaba que la opción 1 iba a estar disponible todavía, pero porque es algo muy importante para los niños, de toda la mayoría.
On her thought, she was believing hardly in that option number 1 was going to be on the table. Because she believed that the bilingual children really need the opportunity to be together in a building.
Hasta este momento, anteriormente, el año pasado, la propuesta de los salones.
She is part of the parent mentor program, and she's been at this multiple times. And she has been in bilinguals and monolinguals classrooms together, collaborating with them.
Sé que entre los maestros sí hay muchas probabilidades de que ellos trabajen juntos.
She truly believes that teachers, no matter if they're bilinguals or monolinguals, if they're in the same level, they can truly collaborate and work together.
Nosotros también estamos en quinto grado, donde era el maestro hispano.
Last year she was in a 5th grade classroom where teacher was a Hispanic teacher.
Ellos, lo que yo, por experiencia, lo que yo he visto es, ellos están disponibles para trabajar con los otros maestros.
What she has seen is the availability that every bilingual or Hispanic teacher has to share and work with no matter who.
Pero hay maestros que no permiten o no dan oportunidad de que ellos trabajen con ellos.
But there are some teachers that they are the ones who do not allow or give the opportunity to be with them or share or collaborate with them.
Ahora mismo estoy en un salón igual que el año pasado y la maestra trabaja muy bien con la maestra.
This year, she is sharing the mentoring as a parent in a 2nd grade monolingual. And the teacher really collaborates really well with all the bilingual teachers and the other monolingual as well. Like the 4 of them work together as a team. So they share each other everything and they are working together.
Como padre de niños, de niñas que ahora están en escuela, y los cambios, siento que estos últimos años que han pasado, ha habido también muchos cambios. Ya como me tocó, fueron 3 cambios que hicieron que no funcionara.
As a mother and having 4 daughters in RCS, and she has present already 3 changes already, and the 3 of them, they haven't given a great result or ending.
Como padres, al principio no nos gusta, pero siempre nos hemos acoplado a lo que ellos han decidido.
As a parent, sometimes they don't like the decision, but they try their best to fit in and just follow your decisions.
Pero estos últimos cambios, nosotros como represento a los padres soy de Vizcar, mi pensamiento está en que estaría mejor que por qué no darle una oportunidad a unos profesores del programa bilingüe.
As a mother and as a BPAC representative, she's wondering why a bilingual school cannot have an opportunity to be. Because she's been again through all the changes and it's been kind of hard.
Nunca han hecho eso y tener una oportunidad también para que ellos vean el dibujo de los maestros bilingües.
You have never done this before, but this could be a great opportunity for you to see the growth of every bilingual teacher and students as well.
Porque el trabajo de ellos a veces es más duro que el trabajo de los niños.
Because bilingual teachers' jobs sometimes is harder than monolingual.
No sé quiénes de ellos se toman el tiempo de ir a la escuela, a mirar, a tomarse el tiempo de estar en un salón para que ellos miren cómo son los salones dentro, en realidad.
She wonder how many of you have gone to the school and spent time with specifically like this bilingual two schools and see with your own eyes how do they work and what really happens in there.
Que con el programa bilingüe tenga el mismo efecto que tienen los monolingües.
So the bilingual program could have the same benefits and positive effect as well as the monolingual ones provide.
Quizás anteriormente había menos personas, pero ahora están llegando demasiados niños.
In the past, we had less bilingual students, but nowadays we need to think in the future because we're having more.
Thank you.
Gracias. Patricia,
I'm sorry, Patricia's the last person.
she's gonna close it out for you.
No.
5 minutes, Patricia. No.
So my name's Patricia Valente, I'm the bilingual director. I've been here 6 years. I've seen how the program has changed, how we started with and ESL teachers, three or four bilingual teachers, ESL teachers, and how through the years we've grown, and now we have 12 teachers with the ESL support, and then special ed teachers that are bilingual, and we have speech pathologists who's bilingual. So seeing that growth is amazing, and then being able to offer that to our monolingual students and families to be able to speak another language would be great. And so sometimes as the director working through the process of creating voice and having parents being able to have an input in the conversation of what's going on is really important. So I would really like the opportunity to have more conversations with the bilingual parents or with any of the other parents about the decision. So I don't know, more parent forums. The survey was okay, but maybe having more conversations in the community would be helpful to know what they're thinking. I also, in connection with the bilingual school, the opportunity to, in the bilingual school, I know it's not an option, but if I could vote, that would be the option, but it would be in the sense of collaboration and being able to create a space for monolingual students and bilingual students and family to work together to grow in both languages. Just like Leda says, being able to create a school where both communities feel safe and be able to grow and they're not isolated. So making sure that the monolingual strand gradually grows into the two-way immersion, whether you have it blended, you have the 3 bilingual classrooms and the monolingual students mixed in, would be the eventual goal of. I also, number 6, is not in collaboration with, as many other colleagues said, with being able to collaborate, being able to work together. It again isolates the bilingual teachers to be by themselves, the one monolingual strand that we've been for so long. So we've been multi-grade, we've been monolingual, we've kind of get shifted. And so sometimes when you're hearing option 7 gives the collaboration opportunity, but at the same time, it's the monolingual students that we're shifting, which is why sometimes if we all could shift, let's do it together. But I know that we're trying to make decisions that would help each other. So my goal would be to do a bilingual school. If we can't do that, then 7 where we can collaborate so that we can work together and keep 2 teachers together, 2 bilingual teachers together to be able to collaborate. So that's all.
And agreement.
See, wait, we got 1 more minute. Can we ask the audience what they think?
I should have kept them back. That ends our public comments. We'll move on to number 6, which is new business. Do we have any new business, sir?
Hopefully not anything before next week.
Okay, board, new business. Board and superintendent comments.
Patricia, this is a question for you. So, from I'm listening from what your comment, you're saying you would like the board and us to speak more with the bilingual parents in reference to these changes and moves? So they can better understand what we're doing as a board?
I feel like the survey, the way the survey was.
I'm worried. You wanna set up something, I'm worried to talk to parents. They wanna voice their opinions to me. And if any other board member, and I can translate to the board member, I would be happy to do that. Yeah.
I'd like to thank everybody that came tonight, and showed their support. Of course, I know that every one of us out here don't all agree on everything, but I do agree on one thing, and that's time. To make a decision this quick, if we're gonna try to make this decision, might be wrong. Maybe we do need to look a little deeper into it and get a lot more information, not only for the parents aspect of it, but also again to go through and let the teachers and the administrators give us a little bit more information. So I'm glad we had this meeting tonight because it gave me more of a look at what's actually really going on. Thank you.
You better get that.
Sorry.
I just want to say thank you all for coming out tonight and expressing your opinions, because that's truly important, that we gather, your thoughts and, because you're truly the ones that have to, work in the trenches and, live with whatever we choose. So, just thank you very much for coming out here and then giving us patience while we try and figure out what's best for everybody. I mean, I know we're not gonna make everybody happy, but we really do care and we really do want what's best for you, for our children, for our district.
And Rachel.
Thank you for bringing that up. I did see it. I did read the special education about the pros and the cons. We will look into that. I apologize for not, bringing that up to you.
It was in big discussions in our individual meetings.
It really was.
It was a big item discussed in the individual meetings, is what Robin said. Okay, I just want to address a few things if I may at this time. So, just in terms of procedural for the board, what I'm gonna do is try to gather all the information I can to make a recommendation. That does not mean that the board has to vote next week to make a decision. We can hold another special meeting. That's the prerogative of the board. And so it's up to board leadership whether we put it on the agenda for a vote or if we are simply doing another round of discussion and feedback. You could also just put it on there to vote and then table it if the board doesn't feel ready to vote. And that's something that you can do. I also want to make sure, something that Ms. Palmer mentioned, I think the staff in our district, I hope they understand that the administration and the board do try to involve, especially our staff, as much as possible. I know there was some displeasure with how this was rolled out, and I think it does have to do with the timing of the situation. I shared this when I visited East Lawn and Pleasant Acres, that having this meeting and what happened at the last meeting is actually part of the process of us having a thoughtful board that is willing to discuss things, not just coming into it and voting on it the first time that it's presented to them. So we are trying to do that, and we'll continue with doing that. Another thing I'd like to address is this idea that it was not said in this meeting, but it has been said to me, is that this is only about our bilingual students. This is only about our special ed students. Those are the comments that have been said to me, and I actually believe this is about all of our students. The concern that I have is that continuing to only do the same thing is not necessarily the best path forward for improvement. And any of the changes that we are talking about making are in consideration of all of our students. We have to give special consideration to bilingual and to special education, because there are services that are legally required to be given to those students that are not legally required, or we're not obligated to provide those to other students. So we would be creating some very serious problems if we were not making special consideration for those two student population groups. So it's not at the, it's not being done in any way that is to say that, you know, our African-American students, our multiracial students, or our white students don't matter. That is not at all what this is about. We have to give consideration to those programs. And I do think that I would hope the public would agree that looking at all the details, I think there's a lot that could be explained as to what we mean about the changes that may be coming for special education, and but that's actually a separate issue. And I'm going to stop now.
Anybody else? Now, Superintendent brought up something about next week. Is there any feeling about what you'd like to do? You know what he's going to do for us. He's going to give us a recommendation. I don't see that we have to vote next Thursday if we are not.
Put it up for vote and table it, if we need to.
Yeah,
Is that right?
I agree. So what, say that again so they hear. We'll have it as an action item.
It's an action item. We will possibly vote on it, but we can table the vote.
Which means what time?
Means we wouldn't vote on it. 1 plus 1 is 2, John. Thank you.
Okay. Can I get a motion?
I'll make a motion to adjourn.
You didn't let me finish. Is there a second?
I second.
Thank you. Voice vote, all in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? None opposed? We're done.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you all for coming.